Maybe the protagonist is the sliced bread. Just kidding. Don't do that. Don't write a story from the perspective of bread. Hey guys, this is Sarah.
And this is Rebecca.
And today we are coming back with a writing prompt video. So today's writing prompt video is very similar to the first one that we did. If you haven't seen that one, please make sure to go back to it. I'll put the link in the description. But what we have is two containers. This time they actually have some depth to them. This is Fluffhead. In one, we have old stories that we can retell. And in the other, we have settings. So today's writing prompt video, if you couldn't tell, is focused on retellings. Retellings are a great way to write your story. It's a great way to have an idea without having to be completely original and worry about having that stunt your ideas.
Yeah. That's always been my problem with trying to write. I'd sit down and be like, I have nothing original to say, so why would I bother? But retellings are a good way to reframe your mind in that way, even if you're just doing like a short story.
Exactly. And it's a great way for you to kind of, as a new writer, get your feet wet with writing stories and playing with craft and structure. But even as an experienced author, it can be a great way to kind of have a palate cleanser between novels. I know that when I'm done writing something, it takes me a really long time to get a new idea and to feel comfortable with that new idea. So starting with a retelling might be an easy way to get into that again. I will pick one old story and then one setting, and then we'll talk about how that retelling could possibly exist in that world. And as always, we're trying to give Rebecca ideas so that she can write her first great novel. You ready?
Born ready.
Okay, so here is our first combination. We are retelling the story of Cinderella set in World War II.
Oh. I was thinking, okay, so there's a lot of, at least I always see these, I've never looked further into them, but these little blurbs about like female platoons during World War II not getting enough credit for all like the Nazi killing that they did. And so maybe Cinderella is one of the girls from one of those platoons, and she meets a Prince Charming character during a battle or something, and they're like fighting side by side, and they're like having fun banter, and then they get separated by war, and then, you know.
Because then a lot of the motivation can be them trying to find each other again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
While still doing their duty for the country.
Right.
I always forget, like, I know we were fighting the Nazi. I always forget that we didn't find the concentration camps for a really long time into the war.
Maybe that's another angle that we can look at this. Maybe instead of like the soldiers, this could be like based on Jewish people living during that time, either in the concentration camps or in hiding, or like fighting back, or even like the people who were allies, like people who were in the Zagoda network, they were the people who were helping people get out of the Warsaw Ghetto.
I always think of that Say Anything song, The Alive with the Glory of Love, that they wrote about his grandparents who were in World War II and they got sent to different concentration camps and found each other afterwards.
Huh. I didn't.
Really cute. It's a good song too.
Okay. Next,
here we go.
Retelling. We are going to retell the story of Helen of Troy.
Ooh, surprise.
Yeah. But in the Garden of Eden.
Oh gosh.
Okay, so let's recap the story of Helen of Troy for people who are not familiar. Mm-hmm. And by that I mean you're going to recap it because I am not familiar.
Mm-hmm. Well, Helen was not of Troy originally. She was either married or engaged to a king. I'm very hazy on the specifics, so I'm going to keep it vague. She was engaged to somebody very big and important somewhere else, and to these people from Troy. specifically the like leader's younger brother Paris came and visited this other place. They totally hit it off, fell in love, and when Paris and everybody went back to Troy, he took Helen with them. And so she's like the face that launched the 10,000 boats or something, because once the king or leader discovered she was gone, he basically waged war against Troy to get her back and like absolutely destroyed the place. And that's where the Trojan horse is also from, because that's how they were able to penetrate the walls, because originally they couldn't get through.
Right.
They hid in a big wooden horse.
So maybe the Helen of Troy character is Eve, and the fiance person is Adam, and the Paris person is some other character. Maybe in this story, the snake doesn't entice her to bite the apple. Maybe the snake entices her to leave with him, or somebody else comes, right? So like in the story of the Garden of Eden, there are people east of Eden, right? So there are other people who are there, and maybe somebody stumbles upon this place and Eden is destroyed.
No.
Or something, I don't know.
Something. Yeah, that one's really tricky, because you would have to work with a lot of theology. This is Dash.
I know. Okay. Yeah, you would have to work with a lot of theology, but I feel like Eden could also be metaphorical. Like, it doesn't need to be the biblical Eden. It could just be like a perfect place.
Right, a metaphorical paradise.
Right, and then the Helen/Eve character leaving is the catalyst instead of the apple being bitten.
Right.
For everything to...
It's good. More of a choice. I mean, still getting lured, but...
Right.
More choice.
Right. This one I don't know about either. Icarus.
You just flew too close to that sun.
In ancient Egypt. I feel like close because Icarus is like ancient Greece mythology, and now we just have Egypt.
Does ancient Egypt have a god of the sun?
Yes.
Maybe it's about a person. I don't. All I know is Horus Cresby's.
Horus? I'm going to look it up before I make a fool of myself.
Horus Cresby's. His tears are bees.
His tears are bees?
Bees, yeah.
Oh, I was right the first time. Ra.
So maybe it's about a character, Icarus, getting too close to the sun god and getting...
Oh. And that's cool because that has mythology that you could use. And then you could have this character who is almost like crossing into the god's territory and the god's world. I feel like that could be really cool, actually.
Very cool.
I hated on this one at first, but you turned it around. You made it cool. Yeah.
I really love ancient Egypt, so
someone
don't get jazzed about
getting too close to Ra, and then what happens because they get too close to Ra. Next, we are going to retell Persephone and Hades.
Yay.
And it is going to be set in the Wild West.
Oh, my two favorite things.
I know. Red Dead meets Persephone and Hades.
Red Dead.
How do we do it?
Love Red Dead Redemption so much. I'm trying to think of who a good like Hades character would be in the Wild West. I'm feeling like an oil tycoon.
Yeah, could be.
Railroad tycoon.
Some sort of like greedy rich guy.
Right. Somebody who seems like they're really shady but could still be capable of love. Because I feel like with Hades and Persephone, Hades gets a really bad rap because of the job he has to do.
Mm-hmm. Could the Hades character also be like a bandit or like somebody who goes and seeks out like people who have bounties on their, like a bounty hunter. He could be a bounty hunter because he
Yeah.
collects the dead, right? So like
Yeah.
once a bounty's on your head, like you're already like
Mm-hmm.
amazing bounty hunter is already going to be on your tail, and he's almost like mythical within the Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
everybody's scared of him.
Yeah, definitely.
Who would the Persephone person be? Because Persephone within the myth is this like beautiful
She's the goddess of
of
spring.
Mother Earth, right?
Mm-hmm. She's the goddess of spring.
The goddess
So,
of spring. So
mm-hmm.
spring, if we want to do more of like a metaphorical take on Persephone, spring is often a symbol of like renewal or fertility or like babies. So she could be somebody, so we could take that in a few different ways. She could be somebody who's almost like Disney princess-esque and has a lot of animals in her care. Maybe she's like a rancher or like a rancher's daughter or something. Or she could be some sort of like Dr. Quinn medicine woman kind of person.
I was thinking a midwife.
Yeah. And her leaving then would have repercussions for whatever town she's in.
Mm-hmm.
Our next one is the ugly duckling. Poor little Uggo. Set in the American Dust Bowl or the 1930s. So we could also do like general Great Depression here.
It's not hard to have somebody be like, quote unquote, ugly during the Great Depression because there was no money. Just make somebody really dusty.
Maybe this is about money. Maybe it's not about becoming more beautiful. It's about becoming rich. This is about somebody who people didn't think could create a business or sell something, and
Mm-hmm.
they are defying the odds.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could take it literally and have this be a story of beauty. And maybe there's like a beauty pageant prize, and this person needs the money for their family.
Yeah.
And so they enter, even though they are considered to be ugly by their peers. And when she gets the money, her parents are like, patent it. And then she patents something that everybody wants.
That could be cool, making it about that. Mm-hmm.
And if we wanted to have like a fantastical or science fiction kind of bent to it, it could be some crazy thing. So that was The Ugly Duckling and the American Dust Bowl. Here is our next retelling, Little Red Riding Hood. This one is super popular among retellings. So whatever you do, if you choose this one, make sure you're
your
looking
research.
up, yeah, and you're putting a spin on it. So Little Red Riding Hood on Mars. Maybe that's the spin.
I don't think anybody's done that one yet.
I don't know. I wonder if there's a Marissa Meyer retelling. You know how she did Cinder, which is Cinderella retelling, but like with cyborgs. I wonder if she has a. I don't know enough about her books to know if there's a Red Riding Hood one.
Me either. That'd be cool.
Okay, Little Red Riding Hood on the Red Planet.
It's
obviously the cover will be red.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of it will be Little Red Planet. It can be whatever you want.
What was that book that we read a lot when we were younger about living on the moon?
This Place Has No Atmosphere.
That one. I'm picturing something like that, but on Mars. That's a great book.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that, but like on Mars and, you know, more.
Maybe between
about high school and making a play and more about being Red Riding Hood and your grandma.
So maybe, so that if you have not read This Place Has No Atmosphere by Paula Danziger, which is an amazing book. You 100% should read it now. It'll go very quickly. It's very short.
Very good.
And very good, yes. So maybe to put like a little bit of a Red Riding Hood twist on this, there are these settlements, right? These like kind of enclosed cities, and people have been told they can't go outside, but maybe or maybe you can, I don't know, who cares? It's up to you. And she somehow has to go to a different settlement. Whether that's forbidden or not can be up to the writer. And then there's some sort of wolf-esque character between the two settlements. Maybe this is an alien, maybe this is an enemy, maybe she's found something out that she's not supposed to.
A lot of really cool possibilities actually with this.
Yeah. And there's also a woodcutter character who's supposed to be kind of like a helper to her, right? So he could be involved somehow too. Grandma. Who is this person who she's going to see? Why does she have to go?
Why does she have to do it? Why is it so important?
Yeah, we could do a lot with this. This one's actually pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I'm really glad I mentioned this place has no atmosphere.
Yeah, me too. All right, we have 2 more pairings. We have Peter Pan.
Ooh.
Set in medieval court.
I love it. Whatever it is, Peter Pan, I want to be the villain. Ooh. I love the idea of Peter Pan as a villain.
Yeah. So, okay. So how would he...
It has been done a few times, so you would still need a different spin on that. But I love the idea of Peter Pan as a villain, like kidnapping,
like stealing children.
Yes, I think it's cool. He's like a Rumpelstiltskin character, but without any cool feels.
So is he stealing children from medieval court, or is he stealing children for medieval court?
For medieval court.
So there's a royal society that needs children, and he's stealing them for this royal society?
Something like that. Or there's a royal society led by a hooked hand person who doesn't like ticking. And Peter Pan, this isn't a villain though. Peter Pan not being a villain is like a person that works in this medieval court, and he's noticing all these like wrongdoings, and he's saving the children from being put into these like really terrible lives. Like medieval times is so interesting because even in like you think of how crappy everybody had it except royalty, but then you think of the royalty and how many of them got like petted and imprisoned for like really dumb stuff. I think it was really crappy for everybody unless you were the king.
So when you were talking about him being a villain, so like our first idea where he's stealing children, right? Like the appeal for going to Neverland is that you never have to grow up. Is that like this is a world without grown-ups. So
because he's eating the children.
He could be eating the children. I was going with like, you were just talking about how life was really terrible for everybody. And maybe this is during like a Black Plague-esque time. And he's like, come with me if you want to survive. Almost like Terminator Peter Pan, right? Come with me if you want to live. And he's taking kids to this medieval court with the promise of immortality and the promise of never growing up, but maybe there's some secret here. Like it appears that you never grow up.
Like he's using a witch to keep him young by like stealing the children's life force.
That's so hocus pocus.
I don't care.
Sure.
It's also like Stardust. I mean, they use that. It's a trope in a lot of things.
It is.
People want eternal youth and they don't care about the cost.
Could there just be like a force field around the castle? Like, could there be a magic spell on the castle that keeps everyone inside at a certain age, at the age in which they entered?
Yeah, but then what would the problem be?
You know, like at some point you have to be like, why am I living this long? Like, what's the point? You know? So maybe these kids have been in this castle for hundreds of years, and there's a new person who comes in and like shakes things up, or is like, hey, I don't know.
Or maybe once you leave, you like rapidly age all the time. That
yeah, like maybe there's some sort of Dorian Gray-esque consequence to this.
you could do it all.
I think this could actually be really cool.
Yeah.
And unlike a lot of our other ideas, this, I don't think there needs to be romance. Like there could, but I think.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. Can we just like stop with the constant romance?
Well, we need to start that first. Our first like 50 ideas were about romance.
I know.
It's like this one and the Red Riding Hood one were the first ones where we were like not about romance. Well, and the American Dust Bowl one.
I definitely was thinking romance in the back of my head with Little Red Riding Hood.
But it doesn't have the central conflict. And a lot of stories, it is the central conflict. But this could be like YA, because these kids could be trapped as teenagers. This could even be middle grade if we wanted to like age it down. And it could be like thriller, like almost like mystery fantasy thriller. Like the conflict is that they have to get out, not that they have to love each other.
What if it's like holes and it's a punishment?
Ooh, and they don't see it at first, but then they realize it later or something. This is our last one. And I feel like this one could also be cool, but it also lends itself to romance. So we can talk about romantic stuff, and then maybe we can talk about other stuff. But it's Rapunzel.
Okay.
Set in a suburban neighborhood.
I mean, that's just about forbidden love, isn't it?
It's about a girl who's locked up by an evil witch.
Right, but I mean, like, in terms of
the conflict? I mean, the conflict is that she's locked up.
By a witch.
The typical savior would be a guy or a girl.
Any romantic interest or friend interest would be friends.
Right. My immediate thought is like kidnapping.
Mm-hmm.
like this is this lovely suburban neighborhood where nothing ever goes wrong. And then like Rapunzel is in somebody's, I don't know, what would the tower be? Attic?
Basement.
Attic, basement.
I'm just thinking of Disturbia now.
Yeah, this is very Disturbia. It could be almost like Gone Girl, but...
And we're also saying the suburbs, but it doesn't necessarily have to take place in their house. It could be surrounding school.
Yeah. Right. So it's almost like The Lovely Bones, where she's kept in a field. It's definitely, for me, it's definitely coming off as like a mystery thriller, but not the same way that Peter Pan in Medieval Court was. Like this,
no, but more of like a horror.
Yeah, like procedural mystery.
Like The Lovely Bones.
Yeah, like The Lovely Bones, except not dead.
Not really sad. Maybe dead.
She could be dead.
Maybe somebody is like trapping her spirit after she's dead.
Okay, so those were our 10 retellings. I think that this was more successful than our first one. Like, I feel like we have some more juicy pairings with this one.
Yeah.
Just to recap, for those of you who have not been paying attention, Rapunzel in a suburban neighborhood. However you want to see it, we were getting major, like, mystery thriller vibes. Peter Pan in Medieval Court. We were getting maybe like fantasy mystery vibes. Little Red Riding Hood on Mars. Read This Place Has No Atmosphere.
That's the gist of this whole video.
is to read This Place.
If you take anything away from this, read that book. Read This Place Has No Atmosphere.
Right. Sorry. The Ugly Duckling in the American Dust Bowl, or the 1930s in general. Oh, this one was good too. Hades and Persephone in the Wild West.
We did like that one.
We did. And we liked this one too. Icarus and Ancient.
That one was really good. I forgot about that one. That one was really good.
Getting Too Close to Ra. That was another one that wasn't necessarily romantic. This one
it sounds like a mentor-mentee thing.
Yeah. This one I feel like has to be because it's Helen of Troy and the Garden.
Which is a romance story.
Yeah. It is. Unless you want to just focus on the war aspect, you could do that. I heard dash that time. And then our last one that we were kind of stumped by, but please leave in the comments if you have a good idea. Cinderella in World War II.
There have been so many Cinderella retellings. Like I was thinking, I think
those were 10. Those were 8. We did only 8 this time. I'm bad at counting. So again, hopefully this gave you some ideas. Hopefully you are feeling inspired to write. I know I kind of am. I feel like I might steal some of these. And leave in the comments if you have any good ideas or short stories or novels that you've written. Put them on Wattpad and then we can read them.
That'd be really cool.
Or just, like write them really well and then get them published and then leave it in the comment and then we can go buy the book.
I would love to do that.
Right. So leave it in the comments. Any other writing prompt videos you might want to see us do. We enjoy doing these. We're going to do more of them. And make sure you subscribe so that when we do post another one, you will be able to see it. And thanks for stopping by.